Hey, this is Todd Toback, and today's show is all about what you can do if you think your employees are gaming the system. Whether you are brand new and trying to do your first deal, you want to start thinking about this way, so stay tuned. Even if you're scratching and clawing your way to that first deal, or if you're trying to scale your business to 7 or 8 figures, you're going to get something out of this episode. But before we jump in today's show, if this is the first time you've been listening, first thing I want to point you to is a free gift I have for you. Go to nextlevelwholesaling.com, and there you can actually take an assessment that's going to have you rate yourself in the 4 most important parts of your wholesaling business. That is marketing, how you get leads; 2, acquisition, how you meet and talk to sellers; 3, how you sell your deals; and 4, okay, your profit. How much money are you keeping every single month? This assessment is totally free. Go there. It's going to give you a score. It's going to become abundantly clear on the very next step that you need to take to grow your wholesaling business. So go to nextlevelwholesaling.com. Also, another resource for you if you want to hook up and meet with other wholesalers, or if you want to catch up with me, go to the Wholesaling Inc. Facebook group. You can go to wholesalingincgroup.com, and there you can join a free Facebook group, connect with the wholesalers. At Todd Toback, me, say hi, and I would love to see you there. All right, so today's episode, again, I said, was inspired by somebody who sent in a question. And so we're going to play that question. Also, if you're interested in having your question answered, I'll give you that phone number here at the end of the question here. But we're going to play that. I'm going to answer it, and we'll go from there. So let's go and take a listen.
Hey, this is Sam Crow calling for the 24-hour hotline for Wholesaling Inc. And my question is this. My question is, if you hire a full-time cold caller and you're tracking their metrics on the Mojo dialer, what are some common ways they like to kind of tweak their call metrics, or, basically fake their stats? What are some common things to look for so you can make sure that they're spending their full-time calling looking for motivated sellers? Thank you.
Sam, great question. By the way, if you have a question, just like Sam, you can call 619-494-1691, 619-494-1691, and I will maybe answer your question on the podcast. By the way, that is a 24-hour recorded message, so no one will answer. We'll just take the recording and splice it in. But what, Sam, I think I hear what you're asking, and by the way, this could be for anybody, for any position that you're thinking about hiring. You're like, hey, how do I know my employees are actually working, right? I'm paying them by the hour. How do I know that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing and not faking it? So, hey, let's face it, right? A lot of team members across all industries, I don't care if you're working at 7-Eleven, working at the front desk, right? You see the person at the cashier, they're on their phone, right? You see, a security guard sitting there chatting with his friends. You've people working from home, they're surfing the internet and Facebook all day. And this happens across all industries. And so your question is, hey, how do I make sure that I'm getting what I'm paying for? So Sam, whenever you're building a company, you want 2 things. Number 1, you want a culture where people want to be there and they want to do a good job. That is like the most important thing. You cannot force somebody who is a C player to want to do a good job. If someone's lazy and they don't have a good work ethic, and they're just doing this to make a few extra bucks and they don't care, guess what? You're not going to sit there and whip these people into shape. It's not going to happen. And so what you're looking for, number 1, is for people who want to be there. And so the first thing, here's a little tip I'm going to give you, is one thing I'll do if I have a team member who I feel like is not doing a good job, it doesn't want to be there, I'll say, hey, I'll tell you what, one of the things that's really, really important to me is people who want to be here and want to grow. And I hired you because I feel like, I want you to be a part of this company and grow and make money and do a good job. So I'll tell you what, if you want to stay, I'm going to spend lots of time training you, okay, investing in you, working so that you can do a really, really good job and that you can earn raises and bonuses over time. However, if you want to quit right now, I'm going to give you $500. Okay, so I learned this. I think it was from Jeff Bezos from Amazon. It may have been from Tony Hsieh. I'm not sure who this was from. But to me, if someone is mediocre about working for you and they're not excited and this is just another job, they might take that $500 and go away. And I know some people are like, oh my gosh, what if they take the $500? Believe me, this is the cheapest $500 you will ever spend. All right. Someone who you are paying full time, I don't know, 15, 16, 17, 20 bucks an hour cold calling, who is not into it. I can tell you're spending a lot more than that every single month. And I can tell you, find somebody who wants to be there. Now, Sam, I'm going to answer your question here in a minute. But that's my number one gauge. If all of a sudden my spidey senses are going off and I'm like, you know what? I'm not getting what I think I should be getting. So your question, really the root, if I had to dig, you probably feel like you're not getting enough leads per hour or per day for what you're paying for. That's probably what I'm hearing here. And by the way, that's your spidey senses, right? Your spidey senses are digging and you're like, hey, I paid this person, I don't know, 15, 20 bucks an hour. And last week they had 3 leads. Well, I can tell you that sucks. And I get it. So your spidey senses should be going off. So for me, while I want to have a culture of accountability, I also don't want to micromanage. So the first thing that I would like you to do is have a standard of which you hold your people to. Okay. So for me, the standard that I have is calls, right? And by the way, this is different for cold calling because I don't run my own cold calling team. I actually joint venture with someone to run my cold calling operation. Okay. So, but if I was cold calling, because I do the same exact thing for my acquisition specialist, I'm looking, hey, how many calls are you making and how many leads are you generating? Those are like the 2 things that I'm looking at. Now, if you are cold calling and are using a dialer, right, you probably should be looking at your contact rate, how many people you're actually talking to. But if I have cold callers, I'm looking at those two things. How many calls did you make and how many leads did you send over? And there's a standard. Now, if my people are hitting their standard or exceeding it, right? Let's say my standard is 1 lead every 2 hours. So they're working 8 hours a day. Guess what? I'm looking for 4 leads a day. And that's the standard. And they're spitting out 4 leads a day and, they're working 160, $20 an hour times $8 is 160, right? $160 a day. And that means that you are paying about $40 a lead. Now, for me, great. I want to, $40 a lead, by the way, is pretty good. So I want to make sure that those are coming in week after week after week after week after week. And if they're making that, guess what? I'm not going to like dig into all the numbers and make sure that, they weren't watching maybe a little TV while they're on their phone, but I'm going to encourage them. I'm going to pay them bonuses for the deal that we do. I want to keep them engaged. I want them on their weekly meetings. I want them to feel part of a team and I want them to be there, but I'm not going to like micromanage every single call that they made. Now, that's if they're doing a good job. If all of a sudden your spidey senses are going off and now you're like, I'm not getting what we should be. What I want you to watch out is the story, right? You're going to hear every story in the book. No one's motivated, right? The leads are no good. No one's answering their phone. Well, then you have to find out, okay, is this truth or is this fiction? So I would do a number of things. Number one, at that point, I might offer them and say, hey, by the way, we're not hitting our standards here. I really want you to be here, but I'm going to give you $500 to quit today if that's something you want to do. Otherwise, I'm going to train you and pour into you and see what they say, right? Because they may surprise you. They may quit or they may say, no, I want you to train me. So at that point, what I'm going to do is I may pull some call recordings. And by the way, I highly recommend that you pull a call recording and make sure you do that the legal way. But pull a call recording at least once a week, okay? And listen to the phone calls with your team and see how it went, right? And do that and see what your team is doing on the telephone. Now, if you have some other spidey senses, right, and you're not getting your leads, I might have a VA or somebody else kind of listening to the calls because I think it is possible with a dialer. I don't know exactly how this works to actually, someone could call somebody and a friend or something like that, and then just let the dialer run and just have the thing off, basically just have the phone off the hook, right? If someone called a friend, so they could increase their dial time that way. So again, like if you have to get to that point, you probably should have already let that person go. I'm going to do sales training. I'm going to do role playing. I'm going to do call recordings with these people. And then if I'm doing all that and I'm getting engagement and that person is doing well, then maybe I'm going to take a look at my list, right? I'm going to take a look at maybe how many phone numbers I'm listing. Maybe my data provider is no good, but you want to troubleshoot each problem at a time. Okay, that's really, really, really important. But I got to tell you this. If you've got good people, they want to be there, you're investing in training them, right? Things are going to go well. If someone doesn't want to be there, no amount of training or discipline or holding them accountable is going to improve them, right? So just move on. One of the biggest mistakes that I see entrepreneurs make is they have a team member with poor performance, and they just stick it out for, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, a year. I've seen like 2 years where someone says, hey, this person is a poor performer. And literally they are tearing apart the whole company. From one bad performer can like ruin an entire team. And so if they're not, you need to move on right now and don't hesitate on letting them go. Now, if for whatever reason you're outsourcing this to another company, and let's just say, like, I think Call Motivated Sellers is a company that provides cold callers. If you're not getting the leads that you need, then what I would do is I would just talk to whoever is the manager over there, tell them your situation. If you're not getting enough leads, and if you're not, then move on, right? Because you're outsourcing this so that you don't have to do this. Okay, if you've got someone in house, you've got to be all over it, and you've got to manage that person, and you've got to make sure that you're getting the leads that you have set a standard for. Okay, so I'll review. Number one is great job looking at your stats, right? You need to look at them weekly. You need to have a standard. For me, I'm going to look at how many calls did you make and how many leads did we get. By the way, another part of that stat is, you want good leads, right? So what I mean by that is, if you're cold calling, you should be calling 1 out of every 100 leads at least. Right? 1 out of every 100 leads. So that means that you're going to be paying about $4,000 a deal. If you're really good, you're going to be paying about $2,000 a deal. That's if you're having somebody else do it. Obviously, if you're doing the cold calling, it's going to cost you not that much money. So if you're generating leads, right? And again, I'm looking someone full-time should be generating a minimum of 4 a day. That's going to be 16 a week. Guess what? 16 a week, you multiply that by 4, 15, 30, 45, 60. Look, you should be getting a deal every 1 to 2 months from one cold caller, at least. Now, as you go, right, past months 3 and 4, a lot of those leads are going to start to get motivated, right? So you will see those numbers improve drastically over time. But remember, the deals are important. If your spidey senses are going off, you may be right. You're probably right. So I'd offer the person the money to move on if I felt like things weren't working out. If they decide to stay, now I'm going to train them. Okay, I'm going to invest in them. I'm going to role play with them. I'm going to pull a recording with them. I'm going to, give them my energy. Okay, and again, be very, very careful that, again, if you feel like this person doesn't want to be there, just move on. You want regular training. And the last thing is, if you have this outsourced, you need to just talk to the manager over there and say, hey, I'm not getting the results here. What do we need to do? So, Sam, I know that was a long answer to a very, very short question. But again, everybody who's listening to this, you could learn from that. Yes, you want numbers. Yes, you want stats. Yes, you want to hold people accountable. Number one, though, make sure the base is there, that someone wants to be there and they're engaged, right? They've got to want it. And if they want it, then invest. Then remeasure, and your business will flourish. Talk to you soon.